Hi, friends. I have to tell you a quick, inspiring story about my son's baseball scrimmage last night. This is his first year in a player pitch league, meaning prior to this, the pitches were coming from a pitching machine. This year, the kids are getting their first crack at pitching, which means the pitches can be a little wild. It can make the kids a little nervous to step up to the plate. What I tell my son is the pitches are much slower than the pitching machine, so that's great for hitting and you have time to back out of the way. Stay alert. He was nervous to step up to the plate, but he did it because he didn't have a choice, right? I mean, once you're on the team, you got to hit the ball. But after he was up to bat a couple times, he came to me and said, "I just don't want to pitch." He was afraid the person hitting would hit him with the ball. Look, y'all, I'm like a super optimistic and preach moving despite fear kind of person, right? But I'll be 1000% honest and say softball was never on my radar as a sport I wanted to play because I, too, was afraid of the ball. So here's my son coming to me, and I'm certainly not going to feed his limiting belief, right? Because that's just not me. I told him how rarely that happens and that these kids aren't hitting the ball that hard, right? Like whatever I can come up with to say back to reassure him should the time come. They were putting a different kid up to pitch for each inning. Well, it got towards the final inning and no one was volunteering anymore. And my husband looks over at me, literally right after my son just told me he just didn't want to pitch and says, "Will Hunter pitch? They need someone." And I just started stuttering, you guys, because his whole team was around us. And I didn't want to express Hunter's fears out loud. I was on the spot. I also didn't want to say that he couldn't do it in front of Hunter. I froze, you guys. I stuttered. And in the pressure of the situation, my husband just walked up to Hunter's head coach. That's my youngest, by the way. He's 9 years old. And he says, "Hunter will do it." And Hunter, who also would never say no in front of his whole team, walks right out on the field to the pitcher mound with the coach hugging him and cheering him on. I was so glad that his coach did that because Hunter really thrives off that kind of support. He gets out there and my husband comes to me and says, "Well, there's one way to get him past his fear." And you won't believe what I said, you guys. I don't even recognize myself in that moment. It's amazing how we try and protect our children and actually end up holding them back because we don't want them to feel anything but happy all of the time, even though that's not me at all. All emotions are a part of life and meant to be felt and explored. They're a part of the growth process, right? You guys have heard me say these things. So he says that's one way to get him past his fear. And because it was my husband and I, only at this time, I said, "Yeah, but he didn't want to do it. It was the one thing he just said he didn't want to do." And my husband said, "He's just scared." I said, "I know, but maybe now is not the time at such a crucial point in the scrimmage." It wasn't even a game, y'all. This is just me in my head, right? Trying to protect my child. Maybe this, at such a crucial point in the scrimmage, isn't the time to put him out there. He's not ready. And I was so filled with just nervousness for him and worry because I didn't want him to not do well and then feel disappointed in himself. I was trying to avoid him failing, you guys. And what do I always say? The only failure is in not trying. And I was robbing him of this amazing experience he was about to have. I blame it on being a loving mom. But I need to remember that I can't rob him of living. So he's up there now, and my oldest son is now standing next to me. And with each pitch to the first player, to the first batter up that inning, I just keep saying, "Oh God, oh my God, And my oldest said, "Why do you keep saying I said, "Because these pitches aren't good." And I'm like heavy breathing. I was having a serious moment, y'all. I wanted to run out there and cover my child. I wanted to protect him. And I know this sounds crazy now. So the first player up to bat gets to walk. But let me tell you something. Hunter's coach told him to shake it off. I surely wasn't the one out there rooting him on, so I'm so grateful for that coach. Told him where to aim, to throw it, and Hunter proceeded to strike out 2 batters after that. After the first one, the coach said, "That's it, Hunter, see?" And Hunter turned around and gave the coach the biggest smile. And I am getting emotional just thinking about that smile right now. And I almost robbed him of that experience. It's a good thing I made this a mini episode, or else you guys would have 30 minutes of me crying about my son. I'm just saying. But they don't keep score in this league, which I don't actually love. But that's not what this episode is about. But I keep score. And yes, they did win last night too. And my son left that game so proud of himself. And he said that he loves pitching. He can't wait till their next scrimmage, he said. He was so pumped. He kept saying how good he was. It was just awesome to hear him talking about himself on the way home. So proud. I know that he will have an off day sometime. We all do, but he will carry this confidence with him on those days too. And we got pizza after the scrimmage because it was so late. And while we were eating dinner, I looked to him and said, "So Hunter, when you were pitching to that first player and you didn't have your groove yet, what were you saying to yourself? Like, what were you thinking?" He said, "I was motivating myself." I said, "Yeah?" But you guys, inside I was like jumping up and down with my pizza crust. And he said, "I was just saying, like, come on, Hunter, you can do this." I just got goosebumps all over again. Such a proud mom moment right there. Even more than seeing him strike out 2 players was knowing that he talks to himself like that when things may not be going as planned. I have adult clients who struggle to do this. And here's my 9-year-old just killing the self-motivation game. That's what I'm here to encourage. I need to make sure he keeps that inner voice for the years to come. Whether he had actually gone on to strike out those players or walked every player, the fact that he was saying those words to himself in that moment, that's the win. That's what I want to leave you with today because it's a lesson we could all use. It's because he was talking to himself like that he did not quit, that he stayed on that mound and kept throwing pitches. It's also likely why he got better. Because he kept trying, and he kept trying with belief. Belief brought the confidence he needed to remain out there even when the pitches weren't great. Belief brought the action he needed to keep trying. Everything starts with belief. In that moment, he uncovered his unshakable belief in himself. And I want you to uncover that within you. Look at your track record for surviving hard things. Remind yourself of that if you're facing something challenging, if things aren't going according to plan, or the next time you're up against something that's going to require you to get uncomfortable, that you have survived hard things before. Your belief in you should be unshakable. I know it's hard to remember those things when you're up on the mound and everyone is watching you, but you find your true strength in those moments. You get to grow in those moments regardless of the outcome. Robbing yourself of that, that's the shame. How do you build a healthier inner voice? Well, if you're listening to this podcast, I think you know how. Personal development, podcasts, books, YouTube videos. This is why we have to work out our mind just like we do our bodies. When I was in a low point in my life, I found podcasts because reading wasn't my thing back then. And there was no doubt in my mind that if I hadn't found podcasts, my life wouldn't be so drastically different today than it was just 4 years ago. That's why it was an easy decision for me to create my own and pay that forward. I built my mind to support me, just like I build my core and my legs and all the muscles in my body to support me. What you see, what you live, is what is constructed in your brain. It's not even necessarily reality. It's what you're constructing in your mind. What tools are you giving your mind to build with? You can be successful if others don't believe in you, but you can't be successful if you don't believe in yourself. And I hope that this quick story about my son is one you'll remember the next time you need to call on yourself to remember who the F you are. Because like my son said, you got this. You totally got this, my friend. It all starts with belief. Talk soon. E.